Well, welcome,
Hello.
ladies, back to Ditch the Diet and Face the Feelings. Today we're talking about movement versus exercise. Well, not versus exercise, movement and exercise. I prefer to call it movement. Some people prefer exercise. But I found it really interesting since we're in lockdown, and I don't know what it's like where you're at, but here, gyms are definitely closed unless you've got exercise equipment at home. You're not going to the gym, you're not doing the weights, you're not doing all that sort of stuff. But let's, before we jump into this topic, go around, introduce ourselves. I'm Beth Gray. I'm a Ditch the Diet, Face the Feelings coach, and it's all about noticing how your relationship with food is really about your relationship with yourself and your body. Where when we start looking at when you're eating but not hungry, what you're really saying to yourself and to your body. And so we end up, while it starts off with being about diet and your body, inevitably it is holistic. It's everything that is going on in your life and everything that gets in the way of you eating just when you're hungry. So that's me, Samantha D.
Hello, I'm Samantha D. I am the author of My Big Fat Fat, a funny book about dieting. I'm a super fan of the Ditch the Diet and Face the Feelings program with Beth Gray. So I wave those pom-poms a lot. And I'm a Udemy instructor, so I've got some courses on Udemy centered around wellness and techie stuff, which is what I'm also quite good at. So that's me.
And I'm Sandra Sperling. I'm an eating psychology coach, former nurse, and I help women work through their weight issues and ditch that diet roller coaster. Really make peace with their body and their food. And you can find me on Facebook.
Awesome. So let's just dive straight in. I know both of you are in summer. Here I'm in rainy season, heading into what, if you lived in Asia, might be monsoon season. We call it wet season, i.e. it rains every day, as opposed to dry season where it doesn't rain every day. But here we are in total lockdown, and still complete lockdown in the sense of no going out for a run. If you go out for a walk, you have to be within 1 kilometer of your house. You are only allowed out during very specific times of day. My time of day is not very conducive to doing exercise. It's a little bit hot or wet, depending on which day we're in. So I'm tending to do a lot more at home at the moment. I'm so grateful that I have not only a trampoline in the backyard, but I also have indoors a mini trampoline, as well as having elliptical bikes. So I have options. I've got weights. And I'm cheating at the moment. I went out and bought one of those little apparatuses that gives you the, I want to say electric shots. That's not really how it works, but it stimulates your muscles and gets your muscles to contract and relax by themselves while you're sitting down doing nothing. And guess what? It works for toning. Do I care? No, I don't. Right now, in the current state of things, that's the state of me doing movement.
Yeah. And in the 70s, they used to call those slender tone machines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how old I am. Yeah.
I think too, Beth, it's really what works for you at the moment. And without beating yourself up about it and getting into this I should,
Mm-hmm.
I need to.
Yep.
that type of language, all that does in our body is create a stress response. And if you don't enjoy that movement that you're going to be doing, it's not going to do you any good because your body goes into stress,
Yeah.
which is counterproductive to anything else that you want done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I would mention at this point,
Mm-hmm.
at this time, if there's anyone out there who's beating themselves up about not exercising or not accomplishing things, you're surviving a pandemic right now. So, give yourself a little pat on the back.
Yeah.
For that. But yeah, like Sandra says, I think, I particularly have issues with the word exercise. And those are entirely personal issues because for decades, that activity brought pain, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of kicked off a thing in my head is exercise hurts. So instead, what I try and do is something I enjoy. Why shouldn't I do something I enjoy? And if that means getting up at 4 o'clock before
Yes.
everyone else is awake and, going for a wander outside on my own, just when everything is waking up, I would enjoy that more than going
When it's
to,
really cool.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm a cool bird. As Beth will attest, the temperatures over here got to over 30 degrees centigrade and I shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I completely stopped functioning because that kind of heat is
Yeah.
miserable for me unless I'm on a beach with Gerard Butler. I don't,
Yeah.
I think the other thing too, ladies, is that when we look at movement versus exercise, there's a connotation, there's a negative that exercise is what you need to do.
Right.
Movement
And
is,
that's not what your body is asking you for.
yeah,
Your body asks you for movement.
movement. And I think
and think
too,
about it. If you use the word exercise in your vocabulary other than movement, you're restricting yourself because if somebody says exercise to you, you think, oh, workout, gym session,
yeah,
something else
It has to
session.
be hard.
If someone says
Has to be hard.
movement, yeah, if someone says movement, it could be, dancing around with your dog in the morning or, walking up and down the garden or carrying shopping bags. Not
that's right.
Yeah.
necessarily movement I enjoy, but movement nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for me, the day when I go grocery shopping and I'm carrying them up the stairs and I'm putting everything away, or the day that I'm doing spring cleaning, I feel no obligation to do
Do anything else.
exercise of any sort because
Yeah.
I've done movement.
Yeah.
And I think, especially like for ladies, for women, just for a second here, when we talk about the diet culture, our diet culture is based on masculine thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We as females are not masculine thinkers. We have been pushed by society into that role. We forgot to honor and we forget how to honor our female side, our nurturing side, our loving side. And when you're going to the
And I
gym,
think that's one of the things I like about things like Zumba, which take you back into
too,
the feminine, that take you back
yes,
into the joy of movement, that becomes dance, but it's not dance, but it's that feeling of. And a friend and I used to go and do 3 hours of salsa dancing once a week. Okay. That didn't feel like exercise
No.
until you were finished.
Yeah.
The next day it felt like exercise,
Yeah.
but you did it in high heels for starters. You didn't do it in sneakers.
Mm.
Right.
You might have been drinking while you were doing it and eating,
Yeah.
but it was fun. I didn't consider that a workout. Now, was I drenched in sweat by the time we finished? Yes. Because
Yeah.
believe me, 3 hours of salsa dancing is a whole lot of movement. But
Yeah.
it's fun, and it's finding that joy in
Yeah.
that.
I mean, there's lots of things. There's a lot of things that you wouldn't consider to be exercise. You know, if I said to someone in the street, "What do you think of when I say exercise?" They're not going to say, "Oh, salsa."
Mm-mm.
You know, they're going to
They're
say
not gonna
running
think.
or aerobics or.
So, I mean, for example, paddleboarding, do you consider that exercise, or do you consider that just getting out in nature and enjoying it? Now, I know from doing it, that is exercise when you actually finish it, or if you make the mistake like I've done of going down, going with the wind and then paddling back against the wind, you do notice that it is exercise at some stage.
Yeah, and
But
I was
while you're
funny.
enjoying the scenery,
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like exercise.
but it is though, because I mean, 20 years ago I used to scuba dive, right?
Right.
And everyone thinks, oh yeah, floaty underwater kind of thing. If you've got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to drive to somewhere on the coast, carry a 25-litre air cylinder on your shoulder with your weight belts on the other, down a cliff edge to go scuba diving, and then after you've been scuba diving, lug it all back up the cliff edge, and fight your way into, a semi-dry or a wetsuit at 5 o'clock
Well,
in
just
the morning.
getting in and out of the wetsuit is exercise, if you'll excuse me.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking while you were talking. I had a semi-dry suit, and getting that on in February in a car park in my underwear, that's exercise.
Yes. Absolutely. And
It's hilarious. It really is.
so, I mean, the thing is that, when we amplify that idea of, and that's why we say ditch the diet and face the feelings. The feelings is, if I say exercise, you might get, no, I don't like exercising. Absolutely fine. Your body does not ask you for exercise. It does ask you for movement.
Yeah.
Might be as simple as taking a gentle walk down to the river, to the lake, and feeding the ducks. It doesn't have to make you sweat. It doesn't require that you feel like you've done exercise.
That's very true.
It might be walking through a museum.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely movement versus exercise. Definitely, because, I think doing something that you enjoy. I mean, certainly I'm writing a course at the moment, right? So I'm sitting for sort of extended periods of time. And I notice when my body is saying, oh, come on, just go outside and walk somewhere, go around to the shop to buy a newspaper or do something,
Or you even get that desire to go to the kitchen to get something to eat. And it's not necessarily that you want something to eat. What your body really wants is, would you get out of the chair?
Get some movement going.
Would you move for a moment?
Yeah.
And so if you practice, okay, I sit for 40 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever that comfort period in your body is, of flow and focus, but at the same time giving yourself movement. It's not going to the kitchen every hour to get something to eat. It's getting out of your chair and allowing yourself to move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's something that we don't think about
Yeah.
as doing.
Yeah.
We just keep on plugging through, and then we stand up and go, "Oh shit, my
Yeah.
back is
Yeah. I mean,
killing me." And it was, but if you would have listened to your body 20 minutes prior, you'd have got up and you'd have moved,
Yes.
and your back wouldn't be hurting. You
Yeah.
know,
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
tuning in to what does their body really want too.
And that
yeah,
awareness of really listening, like that awareness of my lower back is bothering me a bit. Now, I've known for years that if my lower back is bothering me, I need to do a few sit-ups, but I also need to do back arches the other way. So it's not just curls and crunches this way, it's going back and moving it using the back muscles to pull up. There's all
yeah,
kinds of exercises lying on your bed that you can do for the lower back and sciatica. Okay? And they're gentle and they're easy.
yeah,
It's you don't need to sweat in order to get that kind of relief, but it's really listening and tuning into what movement is my body asking me for. I mean, if you
yeah,
look at a kid, try getting a kid to sit down for 6 hours straight. They won't do it. Okay? Try getting them to sit down for 30 minutes. They won't do it.
That's right.
yeah,
Okay, so it's recognizing and realizing we're meant for movement. I mean, like if you look at what we did historically up until 100 years ago, with the exception perhaps of monks and scribes, we were constantly in movement. Every job was about movement.
yeah, yeah. It
We
was.
didn't live sedentary lives.
No,
I mean,
and
even
we're
if
not
you
built
think about
for it.
farming,
No.
farming now is sitting on a tractor. Farming didn't used to be sitting on a tractor. It used to be walking behind the plow.
Yeah,
Oh, but darn. Now you get to have those tractors that are air conditioned, closed in cabs. You've got a stereo system in there, and you just have to
don't be
use this.
doing this for farmers, man. It's hard work.
Oh no! I mean, like I remember at 11 years old, I was too weak in the arms to be able to throw the hay bales,
Yeah.
and so at 11 years old, I learned to drive the tractor because it was the only job I could do in hay baling season. Okay,
Yeah,
and so they were like, "You can reach the pedals. You're tall enough to reach the pedals. You're driving the tractor." There was no, I don't know how to do this. There was no, no. It was like, if you can't throw the hay bales, you're driving the tractor. That's your job.
yeah, yeah,
But I mean, there was we had lots of fun, but it was a lot of movement, but it didn't feel like work. It didn't feel
And
like exercise.
what we haven't mentioned up to this point is for anyone who's scared that it's going to hurt, right? I mean, I'm spend a lot of time over with my auntie who has a house on the beach, like a holiday home kind of thing. And we walked on the beach every single day for at least half an hour, just walking. And this beach is 8 miles long. It's just huge. You could keep walking for days. And I was initially apprehensive about it, but because I enjoyed it so much, I didn't notice that it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So twice a day we would walk for 40 minutes to an hour on the beach. And when I got home, I realized that I had no pain. My joints,
You
because
weren't,
I was moving so much, were lubricated. My back was in its proper position where I'd been moving so much. And I was walking around to the shop one day and I thought, wow, nothing hurts. What's that about?
But it's
And
also, Sammy, you didn't push yourself too hard, because one of the problems with exercise is we go back into exercise, and I've got to do a lot because this is my goal. Okay. So we set a goal and we're numbers driven as opposed to listening to our body and how far what can we start with? The fact that at 20 years old I could do 500 sit-ups does not mean that today I can do 500 sit-ups. No. Not even close. If I get to 50, I've done well.
But also too, Beth, when we think of numbers like that, how many sit-ups can you do? How many miles can you run? That's masculine thinking. That's not
but it's also
honoring
not in
our
touch
body
with your
as
body.
females.
It's not, I mean, and we all know we have highs and lows. There's days where I can run 10 kilometers. There's other days where 5 is my limit.
Yeah,
that's right.
And
but you're listening.
Yes, it's listening. And so, like, one of the things that I've had to accept is that my knees and ankles are not what they used to be. And me doing an hour or an hour and 20 on the elliptical is not the same as me doing an hour or an hour and 20 out on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I'm doing an hour and 20 on the elliptical, I'm only doing half an hour to 40 minutes on the road because my knees aren't going to appreciate that long term. Now, obviously you can work that up and you can increase it, but you got to really be in tune with what is your body able to do at this moment in time, in the present moment. And it's really that awareness and that presence of right here and now today.
And, you know, I mean, if movement means getting up and walking to a local shop, whereas yesterday you wouldn't have, then that's progress. I was looking at a video from Julie Smith, who's training to run 3 marathons in 3 days or something, having never done it before and hates running. But that's what she's doing. And she is amazing because she overrides all the scripts in her head and says, just run to the first lamppost. And then when you get to the first lamppost, just go past it and then go to the next one. And that really we can apply to anything in our life.
That's right.
And, you know, that's actually how I run as well. When I go out for a 5K run, it's always just till the next lamppost.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've done 10Ks or 12Ks of just till the next lamppost until you get out to the 5Ks or the 6Ks, whatever that limit was. And it was like, okay, well, now the only thing you have to do is get back to the car. That's all.
Yeah.
It's really simple. Just the next lamppost until you get back to the car.
Yeah. You'll have to do that dance walk thing that they're talking about in New York. There's a guy that goes up and down Broadway just dancing while he walks.
Yes.
And it's becoming a craze. I think I might try that tomorrow.
But I mean, the thing is, and that's what I want to take us back to. Movement is so much more pleasurable than exercise. And our bodies, when we get in touch with them, are not asking us to do exercise continually, but they are asking us to move.
Yeah. And I would challenge you, if we're sitting around for hours and hours at a time, as I commonly do, not to have those voices in your head saying, just do the stairs or do some gardening or go around, do something, you know, because I mean, I never thought my body would respond that way. But it does. It needs to move.
Yeah. I think too, the other thing, if you're so wired in as the female to the gym and that you have to push on the bike and do the weights and et cetera, and you have to be breaking out in the sweat for an hour or whatever it is, I challenge you to take this evening or this weekend and write down, what is your body really asking you for as far as pleasure movement? What is it really asking? And write down, what would you enjoy? Would you enjoy taking a belly dancing class? That might be fun, right? Or salsa. Or maybe you just want to do something that's just really simple, like walking around the block and looking at what's going on in the neighborhood. But
Mhm.
if you write that down and then try and see how you can incorporate that into your life and
Yeah.
into your day, and really look at, how do you feel after you've done the gentle movement compared to that, I've got to get this sweat going and I've got to pump
Yeah.
this iron. How do
Yeah.
you feel? And
Yeah.
tune into, how do you feel?
I
But the
mean,
key is to get started.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's science to be said about, needing to maintain our heart as a muscle, but that
Yes.
doesn't mean really, stressing it. I mean, it should move
But not only
faster.
that,
The
for me, one of the things I struggle with is you drove in your car a kilometer or 2 kilometers to the gym to then
yeah.
do the workouts to then drive
Yeah.
home. Well, why didn't you walk or run to the gym?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
Exactly.
if this is about exercise, now maybe, okay, maybe there was equipment you needed or something special you needed, or maybe you were going somewhere afterwards. Um, but at the same time, it's being really aware of what is that and how regular is it. Okay.
Yeah.
And two, being a former nurse doesn't mean that busting your ass to get that sweat on is the best thing for your body. I worked with a gal much younger than me, and she was fit, um, very toned, but
Mhm.
her thing, after we did a full 8-hour shift, and sometimes we did 12s, depending on which rotation we were on. But the first thing she would do after we were done our shift was head to the gym and exercise at the gym for 2 hours. Do you know that at 32 years old, she had a massive heart attack? And we would have never
But the
thought
thing is that for
that.
me, going to the gym after that kind of shift should have been about stress relief, about winding down, about
Exactly.
letting go of all of that, as opposed to
Going
I
in.
have to reach X limit. I have
Yep.
to push myself this hard.
Yeah. And
Um,
instead of looking at going and doing something that would have helped relieve the stress from our job, because we worked on the palliative unit, going
yeah,
from that stress to the gym, all it did was create more
stress.
stress in the body.
Yeah. You're just spinning
And
it up.
and actually, our doc that worked the palliative unit, Bernie, Doc Bernie, we used to call her, she said that that was the worst thing that she could have ever done,
Yeah,
because it just added to the
to the
already
stress.
stress response that
Yeah,
was in her body.
and
So,
I think that it's that awareness of, I mean, because I love exercise. I love doing kettlebells because I really enjoy the movement. But there's a point where it does feel like exercise, but if you're not enjoying it. So I don't enjoy
yeah,
just normal weights, okay? But for some reason I enjoy kettlebells. So I don't do normal weights and I just do the kettlebell exercises.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't, you
You
know.
just
but
want to
it's
be a
what you
fit girl,
enjoy.
don't you? That's what it is.
But it is about really getting into what works for me, and what works for me does not necessarily work for the person next to me. And I mean, I had a stage where I went to the gym with a personal trainer. Now, the only reason I really enjoyed that was because I went with my two best friends, and the gym had a spa as well as the gym, and we'd sit in the sauna, and we'd give ourselves pampering. And it wasn't about the workout at the gym and the personal trainer. Although, I mean, yes, we were competitive. We were competing against each other. Doing
it was the whole experience.
It was the whole.
But if the other two weren't going, do you actually think I went? No. No. Because it wasn't actually about going to the gym.
Yeah.
It was the companionship and the support that you got from one another to
Absolutely.
go, and you were making it fun. It was not about the exercise.
If it wasn't fun, we weren't doing it. Exactly.
That's right.
And so, we do a spinning class together, but we do a spinning class laughing at each other. And it, so for me, excuse me, can you just leave the cats alone? Oh. It is really recognizing what's working for my body at this moment in time, because what's working this week might not be great for me next week. Okay.
Yeah. And that's
it's
true.
Energy levels, it's the environment, it's everything else that's going on in life at the moment.
Yeah.
The clock I've got tick-tocking behind me. So my encouragement to everybody is, don't look at this just as a numbers game. This is not about, and Sammy can tell you, you have weeks where I lost a pound and then I gained a pound, lost it again, I don't look at those numbers. I just look at how much energy do I have? How am I feeling in my body? Overall, is my energy improving? Overall, am I feeling so much better?
Yeah.
And that really is the question of health and well-being. And yes, of course, if you're trying to lose weight, the question is, how in touch are you with your hunger, with your energy levels, with, am I really, am I sleeping well? If I'm not sleeping well, something's out of alignment.
Yeah.
And so for me, if I'm starting if I get, and I do get them, and I've had this for years, if I get cramps in my leg during the night, I've got to fix my diet. And I've always had cramps in the same leg. It's never the other leg. It's always my left leg. But I've had that for as long as I can remember. If I'm low on magnesium and potassium, I get cramps.
Yeah.
But that's being in tune. It's being in tune with your body. It's listening to what your body's telling you. And absolutely, you may not be able to go and do that exercise today because your body's saying no.
And so, as you're staying home, if you're in lockdown, what are you able to do? Because let's be honest, you do not need a gym. You don't even need to go outside to exercise.
Right.
There's all kinds of floor exercises, stretching, using your own body as the counterweight, dance, Zumba. What do you want to do? I mean, you could do Qigong, you can do Tai Chi.
Just try something new.
Absolutely.
Because, I started Tai Chi a couple of weeks ago. I'm terrible at it, but you've got to start somewhere, and actually getting the breathing right and the movement right, takes some exertion, I have to say.
Yeah, Absolutely.
But I'm
does.
enjoying it.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Zandra and Sammy, please remember to leave your links in the comments so that
Thank
people,
you
if they
for
want to
having
reach
me.
out and get in touch with you, know where to find you. And we will see you all next week, same time, same place.
Bye, guys.
Sounds great. Bye.
Bye-bye.